This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. The old Depeche Mode song, Personal Jesus, reads like somebody who's sitting back and doesn't know what to do and just wants to believe in someone, hope that something can come true, not ask the critical questions, not put magical thinking aside, and just believe, just trust. Now, as I take that thought, I want to play an audio clip from Mark Cuban, who originally made a huge fortune during the dot-com bubble, now owns the Dallas Mavericks. And this is an interview from a few years ago, but the section I'm going to play is relevant to today by a long shot. And I was actually forwarded this clip by Randall Vest, who has appeared on the podcast before. Good clip. Let this play.
I mean, how do you describe yourself?
Oh, just an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur.
Yep.
Well, so then as an entrepreneur, let me talk to you a little bit about what the news we've been living with for the last couple of weeks, because the markets have been going through these wild gyrations. Right. Don't seem to have a clear sense of what direction is up. How do you interpret that as somebody who's spent a lot of time playing the market?
Put on my, manage the portfolio trader hat, and not so much a trader, but manage the portfolio. It's great. Anytime there's volatility and any time there's change, there's opportunity. Now, I say it's great because I've taken a whole different approach to investing than most people. I think buy and hold's a crock of I think, the idea that you always have to invest your cash is not far behind. And so I've always been of the attitude that unless you really have a commitment to something, just keep your money in cash, knowing that at some point in time, there's going to be a week or two like we've had.
You know what I love about that? First off, keep your money in cash. Well, as a trend following trader, that's what you essentially do. You keep your money in cash waiting for an opportunity. You don't just put positions on your account just to have positions on your account. You take action when a market moves. That's exactly what Cuban's saying. Now, I'm not saying he's a trend following trader. I'm just saying that's a trend following precept. Now, he caught a lot of flack for this interview on the Wall Street Journal. And obviously, he said buy and hold is a crock of shit. We're not bleeping me. Now, let me play devil's advocate for a second. And I have another audio clip that's going to come on that's going to play heavy devil's advocate to Mark Cuban. But let's assume for a second that Cuban has had a little success. Oh, actually, we don't have to assume he has. Now, I'm not saying his success means we should blindly follow his wisdom. But don't you think you should be curious if this great entrepreneurial investor trader is willing to so bluntly and openly call buy and hold a crock of shit? Now, buy and hold has taken two 50% drawdowns in the last 13 years. Two 50% drawdowns. I often hear people say, I can't be a trend following trader because I can't take a drawdown. But at least with trend following, you've got a chance to make a heck of a lot more money when you're taking the drawdown. Buy and hold investors are just getting the average. I think the other point that Cuban makes, which is great too, is the idea of volatility. You can't have trend following profits. You can't have trading profits without volatility. So that's what you want to see. That's when it gets exciting. The up and down movements, the volatility. Now, like I said, Cuban caught some flack about that statement. He also said diversification was for idiots in that interview. And I think what he meant was just the idea of diversifying over 1,000 markets or something like that. If you diversify yourself down to where there's no point you can really profit except getting the average what the market gives you, well, you're going to be average by definition. Now, a lot of people think being average by definition is a good thing. And the main proponent against what Cuban said, Cuban saying that buy and hold is a crock of shit, diversification is for idiots. Jack Bogle of Vanguard fame came out and he was squarely against Cuban. So I'm going to let this play, and I'm going to interrupt it a couple times because I just want to interject some questions into what Bogle is saying. Yes, he might be 80 or 90 years of age, whatever, but I don't think he should be allowed to get away with just saying these kind of amorphous, blobby statements that really have no specificity behind them. So I'm going to stop and interject at a couple points in time here.
Welcome to the big interview. I'm Jason Zweig of the Wall Street Journal, and with us today is John C. Bogle, founder of the Vanguard Funds and father of the Index Mutual Fund. Mark Cuban, the billionaire investor, recently told the Wall Street Journal online that diversification is for idiots. And buy and hold is a crock of, he said a crock of manure. Yeah. Is he right? And with so many people agreeing with him, do you feel like a dinosaur?
No, exactly the opposite. The math has been proven over and over again. Diversification is not only the first important thing investors should think about, but the second and the third and probably the fourth and fifth too. It's diversification, diversification, diversification. You may hit the jackpot when you go to Vegas, and then you say, doing a lot of betting on short odds is for idiots, and the smart people bet on long odds. Well, it doesn't pay off very often. It clearly did for Mark Cuban, and more power to him, and have him do it his way rather than my way. But for the average investor who doesn't want to spend his life consumed with investing and should not spend his life consumed with investing, he should get a nice, simple strategy, diversification not only by asset class, that is to say stocks and bonds largely, but by the number of stocks and bonds in each class, 1,000 even.
Okay, let me stop there for a second. The average investor. Who wants to be average? Who wants to be average? Who wakes up in their life and says, I want to be average? Yeah, I get it. Jack Bogle has made himself a great career, built an extremely large fund of selling the idea that you can be average. That's all you can be is average, and that you can't be above average. Do you believe that? The idea of diversifying across 1,000 markets? 1,000? That's not diversification. That's being so risk averse that you're not willing to make any money. Let me let Jack continue.
And then what do you do for that? What do you get for that? You get a guarantee that you will get your fair share of whatever returns the bond market and the stock market are generous enough to provide to us.
You'll get your fair share. Well, fair share? What the heck does that mean? Just buying an index fund? You're going to get your fair share? Let me let Jack continue.
What about buy and hold? A lot of people, he's not alone in saying buy and hold is dead.
Well, that's the funniest thing. We are, as a group, we investors, 100% buy and hold investors. In other words, all of us together, if I sell you my Microsoft, not that I've ever owned it, and you buy it, the world is unchanged. The market is a buy and hold piece of work. I mean, new securities come in, new stocks come in, and they gradually, some of them get big and some of them go out of business, but it's a buy and hold proposition. So number one, it's a buy and hold business as a group for all of us. There's no way around that.
Actually, there is a way around it. The best traders have exit strategies. Now see, what Jack's not saying there is buy and holders have to have an exit strategy by definition. You buy and hold until when? You retire? So what happens if you retire fall of 2008 when you're down 50%? See, buy and hold has an exit strategy. No one wants to talk about it, though. You just it magically happens that at retirement, you will exit at the exact right time and have all this money. Now, most people don't apparently question Jack when he talks like this. And I don't think Jack's going to talk to me, so I'm kind of just inserting some thoughts here. So let me let Jack continue.
Number two, I would add, buy and hold what? If you mean buy and hold stocks, I would say don't do that. I'd say buy and hold stocks, but buy and hold some bonds as well. Call it an anchor to windward, call it anything you want. A little dry powder, although I don't like to spend the dry powder. I like a permanent kind of bond position, just to protect you from the impact of your own emotions. So buy and hold, the bond market and the stock market, absolutely the best advice you'll ever get, Mark. Take my word for it, pal, now that you've made it.
The best advice you'll ever get is to be a buy and hold investor. Just think about that for a second. 2 50% drawdowns in the last 13 years. And anyone who's a student of history knows that there will be another one. And maybe much steeper. Maybe it'll end up looking like the Japanese Nikkei meltdown. Over 70% and stay that way since the late 1980s. Who knows? But why gamble? Why gamble that Jack Bogle has this wisdom that you should just stick through and trust that buy and hold works? Especially when there's other people out there, Mark Cuban being one, the many trend following traders being two, that can show you there's another way. Let me let Jack continue.
Well, I think what he might counter, though, is that for the past decade has been, as the Wall Street Journal itself called it, a lost decade for equity investors. Even though with dividends there is a positive return, it's not much of a positive return.
No, it's nominal. But look, the stock market is above all things spasmodic. We had the great decade, unprecedented decade, with a 17% return in the 1980s. And
18%, I think.
Well, I guess very close to 18%, and another similar decade, 17 or 18% in the 90s. The idea that could recur again is something to do with insanity. What happened in the 80s was the price-earnings multiple, a measure of speculative...
Now, he's just said it's insane that we're going to see the buy and hold returns from the 80s again. Let's just note that as he continues.
Fever in stocks went from 10 times earnings to 20 times earnings, and the 90s essentially from 20 times earnings to 40 times earnings. It not only couldn't go to 80 times earnings in the next decade, which is what it would take to repeat that, but it had to go back to something normal, which is more or less 16, 17, 18, even 20 times earnings. Don't argue about the small points on the norm. So for the 3 decades together, stocks had very close to their traditional long-term return of about 9%. So why berate a decade when you know these moves in the market are spasmodic?
3 decades, though, but when do you get out? What if you pick the wrong decade? Now, I should add a footnote here. Jack, most recently in early 2013, has said that a buy and hold investor should expect two 50% drawdowns in the next 10 years. I mean, I'm not sitting here crunching my math at a very effective and efficient rate, but could that possibly leave us in a situation where a decade from now, the Dow and the S&P is at the same level that it might have been in 1997? So for over 25 years, you could see no gains? And Jack is making this sound like this is a fantastic strategy to be in the middle of. Now think about that. He's already telling you that his strategy of spinning off fees, his business is to spin off fees for Vanguard. He's already telling you expect 2 50% drawdowns. You might see 50% drawdowns in trend following, but at least your upside is going to be far greater than the average. At least historically speaking, that's what the case has been. I just want people, when they hear some of these great names talking, think about what they're saying. Don't let them get away with just, political stuff. Namby-pamby kind of amorphous language that just kind of floats in the wind. Call them on the carpet, even if to yourself. Say, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. What is he talking about? I mean, I'd go back and watch the whole interview with Jack. Look, he seems like a perfectly sweet guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. That's not my point. Mark Cuban? Yeah. He is a rambunctious dude. Yeah, he made some good bets. But if I was a buy and hold investor, and I'm not, but if I was a buy and hold investor, I sure would want to investigate really, really hard why somebody of Mark Cuban's caliber could say that buy and hold is a crock of shit. I mean, if you want to call trend following buy and hold, which Jack Bogle is saying that all trading strategies are buy and hold, well, that's fine. Buy and hold with an exit strategy. Index investing, like Jack talks about, is buy and hold with no exit strategy. It's a huge difference. Buy and hold with an exit strategy, buy and hold with no exit strategy. Which do you want? Do you really want to be in a position to trust the system to take care of you, to trust that you will exit when you want to spend your money at the exact right time? I'm not saying it'll be the exact right time with trend following either, but historically, trend following has a chance to make so much more money. So if there are mistakes to be made, if things don't happen at the exact right time for you, you've made that much more money. That's the whole reason to even consider trend following. I know I sound a little impassioned right now, but when I listen to guys like Jack, like I said, he sounds like a perfectly nice guy. But nice guys, man, this is your money. This is your money. What else are you going to do? Rely on Social Security? A government program that basically guarantees to take your money and earn you less than inflation. So the government investment program, Social Security, actually is designed to lose you money over time. That's what you're up against. Look, you only got one life. And maybe you're too late in the career where you're going to get exactly what you want. Put your kids on the right path. Put your grandkids on the right path. Stop it. Put a stop loss on your family's generational education ignorance. Stop loss it right now. Change the cycle. Break the cycle. Do something novel. Trend following is novel. Novel is new. I mean, it's not new in the sense that it's been around for a long time, but for the vast majority of investors and traders, trend following is novel. It's fresh. Philosophically, psychologically, trend following makes a lot of sense. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We have no earthly idea what's going to happen tomorrow. But prepare. Be awake. Be aware. Don't trust the system. Don't trust the talking heads. Trust the talking heads like Cuban that are saying there's something wrong with the system. Those are the ones to listen to. The guys that are saying, hey, I've made a fortune, and let me tell you, the system, as they tell you, is a crock. Those are the guys to listen to. So, be cautious. Be cautious. Like I said, I'm sure Jack's a nice guy. I'm sure there's many lessons I could learn from him. I'm sure he's a very bright guy. But I ain't buying the buy and hold investment strategy. And you shouldn't buy it either.
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.